Maybe she popped an Ambien and things are a little weird for her right now.
What? You gave her the Roseanne drug and
And Tiger Woods. Everyone's done Ambien.
Fair enough.
And had a good time.
The Ponder Freak podcast starts now.
What is up, Ponder Freak Nation? Welcome to the Ponder Freak podcast, a podcast that thinks too deeply into hypotheticals, real scenarios, and random questions. I'm Stephen Kelley, and the other host, always the other host, normally the other host is...
Robert Stribling. That's my actual name. Isn't that crazy? You would have never expected me to say that, but I did. Actually, it's Hemi! Hey! Back up in the building. What up?
You really should have said it with another accent, just to throw everyone
Robert
off.
Stribling. Just something weird. Like, where the fuck is that guy from, other than an imagination? That's. Oh man! Hey guys, we're back. It's going down today.
Yeah, it is. And I'm sure you've noticed by now that the Ponder Freak podcast is a featured podcast on Podcast Republic. You can listen on either Podcast Republic's website or the Podcast Republic Android app. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app. I actually use it. It allows you to save all your favorite podcasts. Definitely add us to your favorites if you have not done so already. Make sure to set Ponder Freak as a favorite, please. I will ask twice. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. All the Android devices, not just yours. Don't be selfish.
Yeah, share it.
That's all I got for that. So, what do you have for us today, Hemi?
Oh man, I got something absolutely bone-chillingly terrifying.
All right.
That's what I got.
Well, this is good since the weather's a bit warm.
Yep. Get your scarves, bitches. It's going down.
Okay. Not jackets, not mittens, not anything. Well, I guess mittens is on the same page as scarves, but like
mittens.
I feel like you go through sweaters and stuff first before you do a scarf.
No, we're getting scarves.
Unless you're a hipster.
We're getting scarves first.
Then you're like, oh, t-shirt and scarf.
Yeah, scarves first. They're the first line of defense. Got to make sure that your neck is warm. It's very important. And mittens, apparently. This guy, he didn't even say gloves. Mittens. Do you wear mittens, Steven? I wear gloves.
Yeah, I was just as bad. Yeah, it's... Mittens is fun to say, let's be real.
That's fair enough. Oh, man. Maybe we can make, like, mittens for kittens. And they're just little kitten mittens.
Yeah, there's a kid's book with that.
Oh, here I was
like it
thinking
lost
I
its
was the
mittens or
first
something, so there's a bunch of rhymes throughout.
Well,
So,
smitten.
yeah, smitten solid.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, that's it. Bone-chillingly terrifying. Here it goes. All right. Many years ago, I lived in a big, old, 3-story house that had a room on the middle level that we converted into an office. I used to write financial reports late at night that were published early the next morning. The office had a few computers, and my toddler son had been playing on one of them for most of the evening, right up until I finished my work at around 9 p.m. By then, he had fallen asleep, so I switched off his monitors, scooped him up, took him to bed, flicking off the light as I left. For the next couple of hours, I relaxed in another room watching TV with my wife. She went to bed around 11 p.m., and at midnight, I decided to do the same. I realized I'd left a window open in the office, so I went in there to close it. The house was silent, and the room was pitch black dark and ice cold when I walked in. Colder than it should have been for this time of year, even with the window open. I paused for a moment, and in the center of the room to think about this, and then it happened. Knock, knock, knock. Something was tapping on the glass, but it wasn't the random tappings of a bird or another kind of animal. It was completely uniform. It sounded human, but I was on the second floor, so how was that possible? It was so dark that I couldn't make anything out against the black glass, but a few moments later, it happened again. Knock, knock, knock.
Where are you at with this, Steven? This guy's on the second floor. He's hearing human knocks on a window.
Yeah. It could be a tree with the wind just right if we're talking like a rhythmic knocking, but that's something easy to check. So if I'm going to go ahead and assume that this dude knows, like, no, trees aren't close enough to be hitting my house.
Right. He is taken aback. He doesn't know how the knocks are happening.
Yeah.
What could it be?
Yeah. Well, let's just try to make a real situation here, as far as like, oh, this explains it, which is what I prefer, because anything else is terrifying. So, I would dare to say, like, a big part of my air conditioning is actually up in, the roof area, the attic, and that could knock in a rhythmic fashion or cause a vibration that caused something else to knock, which could echo towards the window. I feel like I'm stretching really hard here. I think it's pretty clear if you hear something from a window, though.
Yeah, I mean, one would think that.
But okay, so we're second floor. Did he say mid-level?
Yeah, it's second floor.
So there's like 3 levels in this house?
Yeah.
I'm assuming if he's calling something a mid-level. Okay, so that's pretty big
3-story house, yeah.
There could be all kinds of groans and creaking from like settling and stuff, depending on the age of the home, which could be pretty rhythmic.
Okay.
And if it's really big, you get drafts and stuff in there that could be moving. To give a situation that's also possible, does the person have a dog or a cat? Because my mulligan has been sitting next to me and his tail was wagging without me knowing it, and it was tapping stuff, and I was like, what is that sound?
Yeah. Loud ass tail.
But if it's a window, that's pretty high for an animal to be tapping on anyway, even if they're on your side.
I don't think there's an animal wagging on that window, good sir.
Okay, aliens.
Aliens?
Done. Solved.
You're going aliens?
Yeah, we'll just go aliens, because then, they see people, they saw someone knock on a door, and they didn't associate the door part, so they're just knocking on random places of the house in an attempt to meet this human. Yes.
Open the window. Knock, knock.
I'm going to knock on the roof, knock on the side of the house.
If aliens are smart enough to find their way to this planet from their planet or wherever they're from, but they can't figure out not to just knock on windows and instead knock on doors.
Okay.
And maybe not from the mid-level.
With that being said, let's stretch that a little further. So if humans do this too, and we could travel far and wide within our planet, obviously, easily. So let's say you go to an Aboriginal tribe in Australia, and they have some customs that you kind of mess up. I mean, you use technology to get there. They could just be tourists. You could be dealing with the dumbest aliens.
Nah.
That just happen to use they got a ride from a ship. Anyone can use Uber.
Okay, that's fair. That's actually really interesting. I've never really thought about it that way. I just assumed.
They could be sending out their worst in hopes that they die.
See, I assumed that in order to get the technology to come over to this kind of to anywhere to be able to travel in that capacity, that you would have to essentially, as a species, all get along and cooperate, and by doing so, you end up discovering much more shit than trying to compete to figure things out, because you're all actually actively working towards a common goal. I assumed that was the case. So I assumed it would be a higher level of intelligence. But then when you put it in the Uber, the Uber fashion of it, then this is really depressing.
Well, what's funny is like what we have compared with is astronauts, right? And they all have degrees in all kinds of things. Like we do send a really bright group up, but once that becomes more widely available, the dumb people are going to get to go too. Like I'll be able to go. You know what I mean? Like eventually it's going to be open to everyone going.
Would you go?
Yeah, if they figure out the G-force and stuff, sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, if it's like riding a plane, they're like, oh, your ears might pop a little bit. I could be like, oh, I guess I could deal with that. Yeah, then I might go.
That would be crazy. Oh, it'd be nuts.
As long as there's no one tapping on the window on my spaceship, because that would be terrifying.
Oh, that'd be really terrifying. So yeah, I was thinking like vampires.
Oh, so you're going the vampire route.
Yeah, I went vampires because they obviously they can fly for one, but they can also be bats. So pretty easy to mid-level tap if need be.
Okay. And we're going kind of old school vampire, not the Twilight, got to run around, can jump high, glitter in the sun.
Yeah, no glittery vampires allowed. Anytime I discuss vampires, let's go ahead and assume it's not the Twilight kind that I'm talking about.
Fair enough. All right.
I'm not cool with glitter vampires.
And it is night, so it does fit with that.
Yes, it's night.
Okay.
It's dark.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's colder than it usually seems to be.
Now, that screams ghost, but I wonder if vampires cause a change in temperature because they don't have any body heat either. So I wonder if they put off like a cold aura around them too.
I don't know, but hey, it could be a ghost. Maybe somehow knocking. See, ghosts knocking on shit always confuses me to no end because they can walk through things. So how are you knocking stuff over or knocking or doing anything? How are you moving, grabbing?
My thought process there is like you're someone that becomes a ghost, right? And your most of your interactions is like hovering and like going through things. But what if you spend hundreds of years trying to be like, okay, I'm going to try to move this, or I'm going to try to knock on something. I'm going to try to interact with the physical world. And you practice and practice and practice, and now you can do these basic things after several hundred years. And all it ends up doing is kind of spooking people, and you're trying to communicate.
Yeah, that sucks. Spending all that.
Yeah, I know.
That's like, man, that's a long time in physical therapy.
That's exactly, yeah. It's almost like a handicap.
Yeah, you're sitting there for hundreds of years, and then finally you're like, oh, I can finally lift it. Oh, okay. And then they're like, not good enough. You're creepy. And then you're like,
yeah, I'm not gonna live here anymore. You move the bread.
That's wild.
Why you?
All right, let's keep the ball rolling. See where we go from here.
Yeah.
See if it's a ghost. See if it's a vampire. See if it's an alien. Or see if it's the actual regular stuff that you started off with. This guy. Well, I don't know. Maybe the house is creaking. Maybe that's what it is. No, Steven, the house is not creaking. This is an epic, terrifying story. Good buddy.
Okay.
You ready?
It's going to end up with a kitten tapping on something
You ready?
that looks like it's toy.
You ready to see what's going on here?
I'm ready to hear it, yes.
No, you're going to see this. All right.
By now, I was already feeling...
Yeah, I can't. All right.
By now, I was already feeling on edge. Then, something happened that chilled me to the core. Because out of the corner of the room, to my right, and from the darkness, a high-pitched, almost squeaky voice began to speak quite loudly.
I can see you.
I froze on the spot. My blood went cold. My bowels prepared for evacuation. My God, I thought, I never wrote that book. Any book. It spoke again, but with greater emphasis on that all-important word.
I can see you.
Where are you at now, Steven?
So it's clear that his wife woke up. She's wearing like, the face mud or whatever that she sleeps in to keep her beauty. And she's coming in and being funny. Maybe she popped an Ambien and things are a little weird for her right now.
What? You gave her the Roseanne drug and
Tiger Woods. Everyone's done Ambien.
Fair enough.
And had a good time.
Fair enough. So, okay. So you're saying his wife with a mud mask and Ambien is the answer to this.
Yep. Done.
All right.
I can see you, honey. See? We're just one step away. It's definitely the wife with the squeaky voice because of Ambien and the mud mask.
There it is. You figured it out, Steven. Mud mask.
Now, okay, let's so was it expressly written that it said squeaky?
Yes.
Okay, see, that's kind of like, what are we talking hamster squeaky? Like, what level of squeaky? Enough to be talked about.
It said a high-pitched, almost squeaky voice. Almost squeaky.
Almost squeaky. So, like a higher pitch with, like, some extra tones that are probably not preferable. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it almost sounds like a stereotypical ghost at this point.
So you think it's a ghost?
Well, I mean, it's starting to sound like your standard, like, haunting, ooh, like, weird extra sounds. You know what I mean?
You just say, ooh? I've never heard you sound like a beagle. You sounded identical to a beagle.
Okay, look, you're not wrong, but like, are we equating that to what could be the squeaky sound?
What? The ghost?
I don't know. It's such a weird, like what you hear with ghosts, like, I'm here. Like, is that what he's calling squeaky, where they drag on tones and like almost hum words?
Well, it says a high-pitched, almost squeaky. So I'm assuming it's just a very high-pitched voice, essentially, that he hears. That is relatively, I don't know. I don't know. I would imagine creepy, right, for the situation. So
yeah. How old was his son?
I don't know. He said toddler.
Oh. Well, a toddler would do some weird stuff like this, and they would sound almost squeaky.
So you think maybe his kid's in there just saying, I can see you?
Yeah. That's a kid thing.
His kid had already fallen asleep. I mean, yeah, he could have woke up, I guess.
Yeah. Popped in. See, this gets away from us having to have a mom that's on Ambien walking around the house.
Yeah, but you might be right about the mud mask. The mud mask sets it off, because that's way more terrifying, right? Because you're like, whoa, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're wearing like a mask. Probably has a big towel on her head or some shit, you know what I'm saying? It'd be way creepier, like, in the night, like, not knowing what's there, saying, I can see you. Mm-hmm. That's mad terrifying. Glowing eyes.
Yeah, like, what if this is like a weekend, and she had a spa night, she's wine drunk, and falls asleep mid-spa night, and gets up, sees her husband's not in bed yet, and goes to check it out.
That could totally be the case.
Yeah. We don't have to do Ambien. We can just, she was having a delightful evening, and now she's obviously groggy, maybe be a little tipsy. And when we see our loved ones, especially women, their voices raise when they first see them.
Yeah, but they don't creepily say, I can see you, especially in these situations, unless they're trying to be dicks and scare you.
That's their inside joke.
What? That they're assholes to one another?
You imagine them meeting for lunch somewhere at like a Chili's, and he's sitting and she comes in, I can see you.
Ew. I hate this couple.
He'd be like, oh, yeah. So this is the divorce papers. We had a good run, but we laughed about what you just did once, but you never stopped for the last 10 years. And I've had it.
I don't like this couple. Look,
you know,
I don't like that they show up to places and say, I can see you when they see each other. I don't like them.
See, it could be romantic though.
It's not. It's not.
Well, for them,
It's
just not for anyone that's like everyone visible in the area would be like, oh.
No, but if they made a movie about it, we'd still be annoyed with them. So it's
Well, there you go.
it's just not.
Add them to a movie.
It's just not romantic. It may be to them, but it's just not. It's not actually.
It's like really dumb people having like little cutesy things they do.
See, that's why I hate it.
Because a lot of stuff tends to have like a double meaning or something. Like, but in this case, it's probably just purely, it went from I didn't see him to I see him.
Right. I actually see you.
I can see you. Hey.
Yeah.
I can see you too. This is love.
Anyway, all right. You ready to find out what's...
Or maybe she's just an asshole and he's blind.
That's hilarious.
And she likes to remind him who's in charge.
That's good.
I can see you.
Yeah, I get it, honey. Fuck you. Well, I heard you coming from a mile away, so I heard you before you saw me, so fuck you. I have heightened senses. You're a bitch.
That's his response.
Oh, yeah, you just went Daredevil. Done.
That's his response. Yeah, he's a G.
Good, we found a way to put Daredevil into this. All right, continue. Sorry.
Well, I was thinking about continuing, and then I was thinking, like, you just went, like, the regular route. Bro, what if it is, like, a ghost or a creepy fucking figure that's just back there saying,
I can see you.
and it's, like, a really creepy thing in his house.
Yeah. Yeah. If he's physically seeing something that he can't explain, I think that's one of the scariest things, is, like, seeing something clearly, so like no haze, none of that, nothing that you can, because I don't know, if something's kind of fuzzy, you can pawn it off and kind of be like, oh, it must have been this or something, and then you walk away.
Right.
But as soon as you see something crystal clear and you're like, I still don't know what it is.
Right.
That is like one of the like, what's going on moments you can have in life.
Exactly.
So if he's experiencing, like, okay, so not even that. So if you just see something like, oh, maybe it's a reflection, maybe light's bouncing weird or something, but then you hear words come from it on top of everything, it all of your senses are starting to add up to saying, hey, I see something, I hear something now. It starts to get worse.
Way worse. Way worse. Because now you have a voice attached to the creepy thing you already saw.
Right.
So now it's like, oh shit, you are a being that can speak to me in my language.
Yeah.
And you look terrifying.
Yeah. And the temperature's already changed, so you feel a change too.
Right.
Now, another thing is, what would you be smelling? Like, would there be a strong stink or something? Because I would just be like, okay, I feel cold. I smell something terrible. There's a squeaky demon that I could...
Did you really just make a name for a fart? I smell something terrible. It's a squeaky demon.
Okay. See, that's also like slang for fart, too.
That's what I was saying. You're over here talking about farts.
Well, then we're on the same
A
page.
squeaky demon. This guy. What's happening?
All right. Well, there's a name for an app right there. So if you make yet another farting app, might as well call it the Squeaky Demon app.
I'm going to be honest, though, bruh. If somebody has the ability to create words through farts, like if just by them pushing gas through a butthole, they have the ability to maneuver the butthole in ways that actually create words, that would be crazy.
That's yeah.
That would be nuts. And if it said, like if they...
But it also sounds like a shitty way to communicate.
I see what you did there. You'd constantly be talking shit.
Yep. Man, that guy's a real shit talker.
Everyone's breath smells the worst.
Well, that explains the smell, so we're all good.
That's great. Yeah.
So right now, we're basically dealing with a ghost that uses its anus to communicate, which would make it difficult. So that I understand.
I feel like since ghosts float, if they were to do that, I feel like they would be constantly propelled in directions they wouldn't want to be propelled in.
You know what freaks me out is everything I've seen. You're right about them floating, but they float like right at the ground.
So there's like a hint of gravity.
So they just glide, and it freaks me out because it's the most unhuman movement.
Yeah, we don't glide.
And I mean, you can see some dances, like some ballet and stuff, and you'll see them move where they have the long dresses, and it's kind of the same movement, but that's why they do it. It looks so different and unique.
What about the moonwalk?
Yeah, see, that's another one. If he was wearing a long dress,
it's happened.
It would just look like gliding.
It's happened.
It's happened.
Yeah.
Try it out. Give it a shot.
All right, you ready? You ready to continue this craziness? Okay.
I'm ready. Let's deal with this squeaky demon.
I determined that I was almost certainly fucked, so I figured, what the hell? I turned slowly to my right and walked into the darkness until I finally reached my son's computer. Nothing there but an empty chair. But no talking now, just silence. A horrible silence. Carefully, I reached over and switched on the monitor. The screen brightened and there it was, something red and horrible. Once again, it tapped on the glass. It was fucking Elmo from my kid's Sesame Street game.
This guy left his game on. That's all it was. That's all it was. And lo and behold, it was actually a monster.
Oh, well, there you go.
It was actually a monster. This was for the kids.
You know what's funny? I thought about the computer, and I thought about how awkward it was. He just turned the monitor off. I was like, man, that's old school.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Because, like, stuff takes care of itself. Like, it goes to sleep.
Hibernate, something.
Yeah. But, yeah, and I don't know why I didn't even bring it up. I think because I was distracted by the old way he dealt with the computer that I wrote it off.
That's funny.
Because that is an obvious... Someone listening to this is going to be like, oh, he just turned the monitor off, so there's definitely an app or program that is activated and still running. I can't believe these idiots missed it. It's going to be like, you're not wrong. But I wanted to explain why I was distracted at that moment in time of that information.
Yep, there it is. No, he does a good job in writing this to make you not give a fuck about it anymore by saying that his kid was already asleep.
Yes.
From playing. So then you're like, oh, okay, so nothing's happening on the computer. Whatever.
Right. It's written to derail.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Elmo does look a little creepy.
Yeah, he's creepy as shit.
They all have like a monster feel. So that is kind of strange. Like Big Bird is, I mean, shouldn't that be terrifying? Like, why do kids like these things? I guess they're fuzzy.
If you actually saw Big Bird in regular everyday life, if you saw him walking alongside Snuffleupagus at night, at midnight.
Okay. It is getting weird.
And you're in an old town with cobblestones on the ground. And you hear the flops of large webbed feet on the cobblestones.
Like, and I'm walking down the street and they're following me?
Yes. And you hear the four clops of four like mammoth hooves as well.
With the like 3 nails on the front tapping too?
Yes.
Oh. Well, first off, I would definitely wrap my scarf much more closely.
Well, you have to.
I feel like we just created a Jack the Ripper, but with Big Bird and Snuffleupagus. That is...
And then...
So basically, I'm a prostitute in the 1800s, and I'm about to be like beaked to death.
You think so? Because you hear him tapping behind you, and then you hear, hey, and you don't say anything, and you keep walking, and you keep hearing,
Nope.
and you keep walking, and you hear it again.
I already did my prostituting for the day, so I don't have to respond to anybody.
And then he says,
Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
oh my God, how did I do it? Let's go. Ah, perfect. What a great thing to say whilst walking on a cobblestone road late at night. Of course they're looking for how to get to Sesame Street. That's where they live, Steven.
Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, is that must be in Chinatown.
You said what?
Sesame Street must be in Chinatown. I'm trying to help with directions.
Ah, I see what you did there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but we're there.
No, it was great. You know what?
Someone made that joke at some point.
This reminds me of the time that we were drunk in Savannah looking for the car.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we would have come across anything from Sesame Street following us, I would have shit myself on multiple occasions. Can you imagine Oscar the Grouch just popping up, just walking by a trash can, and like a big green fucking monster just jumps out? And he's like, fuck you, because he's mad.
If you look at a lot of prank videos, that is what happens almost. Like, there's people in trash cans. We see people punching people.
That is true, yeah.
that have jump scared them out of a trash can. So they jump out as a human, and you're like, if they jump out as like a fuzzy creature, you're going to be like, okay, why is this mutt attacking me?
I think fuzzy creatures would get punched less than humans. I think there's like something in you that's like, all right, you seem to be kind of human, I'm punching. But like if it's a furry creature, a lot of times you're going to be like, what's my punch going to do? And he might bite my hand. So
you're not going to use the like if a dog's coming at you, you should punch him in the nose thing.
No.
Because it'll hurt them greatly and make them not want to attack you anymore.
I mean, I would kick, I think, more so than punch.
Okay, so we're kicking basically homeless dogs right now on the Ponder Freak podcast.
Hey!
A homeless dog hears a human going by, and they pop out of the trash can like, oh man, maybe they'll give me some food or maybe shelter. And Hemi's kicking it. I'm punching it in the nose.
Yep.
Because it scared us.
So anybody who wants to sponsor us, let us know. And this is where your ad can go. Right here.
We are here to create controversial content just for you.
Yep. Enjoy it. Enjoy the backlash. We will. Yeah, man.
Any other thoughts, Hemi, or do you feel like we got this one wrapped up?
No, I think that pretty much does it, man.
Nice. Well, in that case, thank you so much for listening to our show. It truly means a lot. Find us wherever you find your favorite podcast, and check us out on social media. Just search Ponder Freak. We can't wait to hear from you. Till next time.
Woo!